Hello everyone, I'm Zhihao. Today I'm going to present DeTor. DeTor provides a set of techniques that allows users to communicate over Tor circuit and properly avoid certain geographic regions. I collaborated with Stephen Herwig and Professor David Levin on this work. Tor is an overlay network that aims to provide anonymous communication between users. Usually, a Tor circuit consists of 3 nodes: an entry node, a middle node, and an exit node. Tor is built upon onion routing, where clients iteratively exchange keys with the nodes on the circuit, and then the messages are encapsulated with layered encryption and sent over the circuit. Tor aims to provide a particular type of anonymity, which is unlinkability. Imagine an attacker on the path. The attacker can either identify the source of the communication or the destination of the communication, but cannot link the source with the destination easily. However, many previous studies have shown that Tor is still vulnerable to a set of attacks, such as censorship. Imagine a censorship region can observe the traffic from the source towards the Tor network. It can easily identify the source that's trying to communicate over Tor, and it can simply drop all the packages from the source towards the Tor network and thus block the whole communication. Another example would be the traffic correlation attack. Suppose that the attacker can observe the traffic that enters and exits the Tor network. It can then potentially observe the traffic patterns on many links, and then thus, by correlating the similar traffic patterns on different links, thus link the source with the destinations and break the unlinkability property of the Tor network. Given this attacks, we consider the following threat model in our work. We consider a routing-capable nation-state adversary. We assume that the adversary can launch various of man-in-the-middle attack once they are on the path, and they have the ability to hide themselves from network topology measurement tools such as traceroute, so an observer cannot identify their appearance on the path. And also, they have the ability to manipulate routing information, so they can, for example, by announcing a fake BGP announcement, they can attract some traffic or routes towards their administrative domains. However, we assume that they cannot break the cryptographic assumptions, so they cannot break the Tor's encryption. And one more fundamental assumption in our work is that we assume that we know the geographic boundaries wherein the attackers are resident. We think this is a reasonable assumption because today most other adversaries can be, most nation-state adversaries only act within their geographic borders. Okay, to protect users from such adversaries, we present DeTor. DeTor allows users to properly avoid geographic regions with appropriate Tor circuit selection. DeTor provides 2 types of avoidance: never once avoidance and never twice avoidance. Let's look at never once first. Recall that in the censorship scenario, the censorship region can simply drop all the packages from a source towards the Tor network and thus block the communication. Never once aims to provide users appropriate Tor circuit that allows users to totally avoid these regions and provide the proof of such avoidance. For never twice, on the other hand, it protects users from traffic correlation attacks. In traffic correlation attacks, if the attacker can link the source, the attacker can link the source with the destination if he can observe the traffic that enters and exits the Tor network. So for never twice, it aims to provide users that the Tor circuit such that package over the entry link of the circuit and the exit link of the circuit will never traverse the same region twice. Thus protect users from such attacks. To summarize, DeTor protect users from different attacks with appropriate Tor circuit selection, and it provides 2 types of avoidance: never once and never twice. For the package over the DeTor circuit, it will also provide proof of such avoidance. we have two design goals for DeTor. Firstly, we want DeTor to be easily deployable, and then it needs to provide rigorous proof of avoidance. For deployability, we want users to avoid censorship or such any traffic correlation attacks by simply choose the right circuit without knowing the underlying routing information, and doesn't need to make any modification towards the internet equipment, and doesn't need to change the Tor protocol, of course. At the same time, we want to obtain the proof of such avoidance. This is very important, since recall that in today's Tor's implementation, there's an option for users that user can simply exclude a certain set of Tor nodes from a certain country or certain region or a certain ISP they want to avoid when they build a circuit. However, this option only provides an illusion of the avoidance, since with Tor node outside of such regions, the packet over such circuit still has the possibility to traverse the censorship region. So we want DeTor to provide a circuit that can properly avoid such regions. I will then show you how we obtain such proofs. Basically, the idea is to use the measured end-to-end round-trip times and the natural law, which is the speed of light. This idea was firstly applied in the alibi routing paper in CCOM 15. Consider this end-to-end communication and the region this communication wants to avoid. If the package from the source traversed that region and then to the destination, then the shortest possible distance this package has traversed will be like this. We assume it's d. And the shortest possible round-trip time for this package will be the 2 times this distance divided by the speed of light. If we have the measured round-trip time at the source side, and we found this measured round-trip time is actually much smaller than this shortest possible round-trip time, then we obtained an alibi for this packet, that this packet could not have traversed this region. We call this condition alibi condition. So in order to prove a packet has never traversed a certain region, the source needs to verify 2 things. Firstly, it needs to verify that the response from the packet from the destination will contain a signature of that destination. So the source will know that the packet has actually reached the destination. Furthermore, it needs to verify the alibi condition so that it can prove the packet has not traversed that's avoiding region. Now let's look at how we apply this idea in never once avoidance. Recall that never once the user wants to find a circuit that avoids this specific region and with a smart Tor circuit selection. So we consider the shortest possible distance through the Tor circuit and through the forbidden region. If the packet traversed this region over the first leg, which is the leg from source to the entry node of Tor circuit, then the shortest distance for this packet to traverse will be like this. Let's say this equals to D1. And there are other 3 different legs this packet could have traversed the region. So we have other 3 different cases. We assume the shortest distance to be D2 to D4. And simply the shortest possible round-trip time for the packet to traverse the region we want to avoid and over the circuit will be the 2 times the minimum of all such distances and divided by the speed of light. Again, if we compare the measured end-to-end round-trip time from the source to the destination with this shortest possible round-trip time, and if the measured round-trip time is actually smaller, we obtain this alibi for the package that it cannot have traversed this region. So similarly, to summarize, for never once, if we want to obtain a never once avoidance, the source needs to verify 2 things as well. It needs to firstly verify the end-to-end integrity check of Tor, such that it knows the packet has traversed the Tor circuit in order and reached the destination. Also, it needs to verify the alibi condition, so it knows the packet could not have traversed the region. This is for never once avoidance. Let's see for how we obtain never twice avoidance. Recall that never twice. The goal for never twice is to provide circuits so that the packet over such circuit, over the entry link of such circuit and the exit link of this circuit will not traverse the same region twice. So it can protect users from traffic correlation attacks. In order to be resilient to any traffic correlation attacks, we need to make sure there's no country in the world that this packet has traversed twice. So we need to make sure the places that packet could possibly reach over the entry leg will not intersect with the places that with the countries this packet could ever reach over the exit leg. So let's consider where could the packet possibly reach over each leg. Let's assume this end-to-end communication. To measure round-trip time over this communication, we can split them into two parts. The shortest possible round-trip time between this communication and the actual term. The actual term can be the latency caused by congestion, caused by the link itself, and all other possibilities. And over the whole Tor network, there will be four such links. So the overall end-to-end measured round-trip time will be the sum of all shortest possible round-trip time over the links and the sum of all such extra latencies. Let's consider one extreme case where all the extra latencies are concentrated on the inter leg of the Tor circuit, such that the other three legs will all achieve the shortest possible round-trip time. And the inter leg itself will achieve a upper bound round-trip time for that link. Similarly, if we have all the extra latency concentrated on the exit leg, we'll have this upper bound round-trip time for the exit leg. Let's take a closer look at the exit leg in this case. In this scenario, if the packet has traversed a point over the exit leg, it must satisfy this condition, which is the upper bound round-trip time over this leg should be greater than the latency from the exit node of the Tor through that point and then towards the destination. If this is satisfied, then this point is reachable by the package. Consider all such points, all such possible points. They will form an ellipse with focal points on the exit node of the Tor network and the destination. And any point within this ellipse is possible for the packet could possibly reach over the exit link. Similarly, if we consider that ellipse over the inter leg, we will have another ellipse. So these are the two ellipses we constructed from the worst case scenario, or two extreme cases for both the entry and exit link. We need then to consider the countries that intersect with each of the ellipses, so we can obtain the countries that the packet could possibly reach over each leg. Let's look at the example on this map. In Europe, we have a source and destination, and we have three Tor nodes that we will use as the circuit. We have the ellipse for the entry leg and the ellipse for the exit leg. Each of the ellipses will intersect with a set of countries. In this case, however, there's no countries that intersect with both ellipses. This basically means the packet over the entry and exit leg could not have traversed the same country. So in this case, we naturally obtain the never twice avoidance. Let's look at another example, however. In this case, we have source destinations and 3 nodes. The ellipses are like this, and the ellipse for the intralag will intersect with this set of countries, and the ellipse on the x-leg will intersect with these countries. However, there's countries that intersect with both ellipses. In this case, because we consider the upper bound round trip time on each entry and exit legs, so we need to further verify that if the packet could have possibly traversed the countries that intersect with both ellipses. So we need to verify the alibi condition, which is, in this case, for each country that intersects with both ellipses, we need to find the shortest possible round trip time through the Tor circuit, and over the entry leg, the packet have traversed that country, and the packet have traversed that country again over the exit leg, and compare this shortest possible round trip time against the measured end-to-end round trip time. If actually the measured round trip time is smaller, then again we obtain the proof of avoidance for never twice. Okay. Now we have described how DeTor works. Then we turn into the evaluation. We evaluate DeTor through simulation. We randomly picked 50 nodes from the Tor network, and we obtained their GPS locations, and we measured their pairwise round trip times using a tool called TIN. TIN is the tool that we developed to measure the round trip time between any 2 Tor nodes. And we use these 50 nodes to construct Tor circuit, and we also select source and destinations from these 50 nodes. The nodes are illustrated on the map as black nodes. For never once avoidance, we also consider 5 countries we want to avoid, and as shown there in red. Our evaluation is centered around these 3 broad questions. Does DeTor succeed? Does DeTor perform well? And are those DeTor circuits diverse enough? In this talk, I will describe the results for the first 2 questions. Let's firstly look at the successful rate for never once. This plot shows for different countries we try to avoid, we show the fraction of source and destination pairs that they can obtain at least never once circuit. The first thing to notice is that most source and destination pairs can find such successful never once circuit for most countries when we try to avoid. For those source destination pairs and that cannot find even one never once circuit, we try to characterize them into different regions. For example, if the source or destination are actually in the regions we want to avoid, then there's nothing much we can do about it. Or if the circuit constructed cannot pass the alibi condition, we cannot obtain such proofs, then we cannot find a never once circuit as well. And among these failure reasons, the most common reasons is that the source or the destinations are actually in the region we want to avoid, or actually very close to the regions. Here, when we look at the results when we try to avoid the US and Russia, we will see a much lower successful rate. This is because, for example, for US, in our data set, we have a lot of Tor nodes that are actually in the US. So obviously we cannot obtain the never once avoidance for those. And for Russia, there's a cluster of European nodes in our data set that is very close to Russia, such as when we try to avoid Russia, the successful rate is very low. Okay, from the previous results, we have seen that many source destination pairs can find at least one DeTor circuit. Then we try to find out how many DeTor circuits exactly those pairs can actually find. That line firstly shows the total number of Tor circuits we can find using the node we selected. And here we show the cumulative fraction of source and destination pairs of DeTor circuits. And this is the number of source destination CDF of source destination pairs and the number of circuits that they can find. As we can see here, over a half of the circuit can find at least 500 never once circuit. However, if we compare this number with the total number of Tor circuits we can find, this basically says that Tor, again, sorry, there's one thing we need to mention. In our data set, we don't have any Tor nodes from China. And these results are the results we try to obtain never once avoidance when we want to avoid China. And by comparing these two lines, we find that the Tor circuit constructed with no Chinese nodes can properly avoid China only in less than 10% of the time. This basically shows the the power of DeTor. And it also shows that simply relying on Tor's random selection, we can hardly obtain a provable avoidance. Another result, here we want to show the number of Tor circuits we can find with never twice avoidance. As we can see in this CDF, over 80% of the time, over 80% of the source to destination pairs, we can find over 1,000 never twice circuits. And this actually is a very promising result, since this tells us simply based on the client-side round-trip time measurement, users are able to address many numbers of attacks, such as traffic correlation attacks. Given that DeTor is usually successful, we next evaluate the performance of DeTor circuit. This shows the round-trip time of the number one circuit. As we can see here, usually a number one circuit will have a lower round-trip time than normal Tor circuit. We have a similar result for never twice circuit as well. These results are actually not surprising. Recall that we have this alibi condition. We need to make sure that the end-to-end measurement round-trip time of the circuit is actually smaller than the shortest possible round-trip time through the circuit and through the forbidden region. So this condition will exclude a number of circuits that has a large latency. There are many other results we evaluated on DeTor, such as we showed that DeTor only introduced a slight node selection bias, and also we found a parameter that are indicative to predict the successful possibility of the DeTor circuit. For more details, please check our paper. To summarize, we present DeTor, which provides you circuits that can achieve never once or never twice avoidance. And it also provides proof of such avoidance for packets traversed over the circuit. And then we evaluated DeTor and found that it is successful for most source and destination pairs, and you already have a better performance than normal Tor circuit. And only it introduces a slight node selection bias. Our code and data will be available at this website. And thank you for your time. I'm glad to take part.
Thanks for your talk. So at the beginning of your experimentation section, you had a line up there that said something about we did this in simulation. So did you actually construct Tor circuits in the real world, or was it all in simulation?
No, we didn't construct the Tor circuit in the real world.
Oh, because how often do you think a circuit in the real world would have a round-trip time anything close to the speed of light? Like Tor is notoriously slow. It's faster now than it used to be, but it's nowhere near the minimum speed of light distance. Right? Every millisecond a packet queues at a Tor node, your ellipses get huger.
Yeah, that's actually show. Because of that, it actually shows that DeTor is actually pretty successful. Because we use real round-trip times measured using TIN over Tor circuit. So recall that the alibi condition to measure round trip time is actually on the other side. We need to make
but
sure
you're just, sorry, the round trip time you're using is just an internet data set of the round trip time not using Tor or using Tor.
No, it's actually measured over Tor.
Over Tor.
Right.
But so, what about queuing delays at the routers, which are the major component to Tor's delay? Because that's not the major contributor to Tor's slowness is queuing times at routers.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
which aren't measured in the round trip
we
time.
use the team to measure this pairwise round trip time between Tor nodes. I think in team we account for those.
You account for it.
Queuing latency and the packet processing latency and so on.
Okay.
Question, and just a quick follow-up. Can you go back to that the very last slide? He did offer to make the code and data available, so it should definitely be. Yeah, check out, and he should be applauded for that, absolutely. So please, go ahead.
Hi, cool talk. Yeah, just like, all right. Cool. So I have a question about...
Will be available soon.
So just curious about your threat models. You say we're going to avoid certain regions. I assume because those regions might be, dangerous for you, because you don't want to make a circuit through them because you don't trust them or for some whatever reason, right? How hard is it for people or whatever powers you're trying to escape to run relays in regions that you don't know, like all the regions? Then, they have visibility over all the regions. It's not necessarily that you have to go to their country to actually, expose your traffic to them. They could just run a relay in the US and Germany and places like that.
Yeah, that's this assumption is one of the fundamental assumptions of this work. You're basically saying that an adversary can basically place their probes all over the world, but essentially what we are trying to assume is that we can find a boundary that bounds all those appearances of the adversary. So even if the adversary can place their equipment all over the world, as long as there's a boundary for each of them, even they are disjoint, this our work will still be applicable.
So maybe you might want to wonder, like, what's the minimum placement that the adversary would have to do such that you can't make any routes?
Sorry, what?
So I'm just saying, as a investigation, you might want to wonder what's the minimum number of relays an adversary would have to place and where, such that DeTor would not produce any routes, because you can't find any regions that don't go through something that they control.
You're saying
maybe we can talk about this in a bit.
Okay.
Sounds like a great conversation for one of our sessions this evening.
Indeed. All right, thank you.
Let's, I think we have time for 2 more quick questions. You want to go ahead?
Right. Hi. You said there's a slight bias in the node selection. Did you quantify that in any way? If so, how?
Yeah, we try to quantify them we have the results in our paper. If you want more detail, you can look at that. So basically, because Tor will, because this alibi condition will require for a low latency, so some nodes with higher latency will be less preferable in this DeTor, and so DeTor will also prefer some nodes with lower latency and better links.
So you have a point here of DeTor circuits have better performance, but Ian pointed out that most of the problems for Tor performance have to do with congestion inside the relays. So I imagine this is one Tor client changes its path selection and the rest of them stay the same, and that one gets better performance, where if every Tor client changed to do this new path selection approach, then you would no longer get better performance because you would be putting more congestion on nodes that can't handle it because you're putting it based on geography rather than capacity?
If all the Tor nodes all the clients start to use DeTor, then I think that goes back to the node selection bias question. Some nodes will be selected more often than the normal Tor in the normal Tor cases. And yeah, that's something I think that's fundamental for this work. If we try to avoid certain region, we have to exclude certain Tor nodes from the selection. So have to transfer the traffic towards some powerful.
That's a challenge we see in the systems world over and over, where people say, well, I wonder if I change Tor like this, and they do it just for their client, and it works better, so they conclude that everybody should do it. That's a risky conclusion.
Yeah, but we tried to evaluate this, like the node selection, but we found this, the bias is kind of slight bias.
Well, folks, this is a really successful session. Let's thank this and all of our speakers.